But yeah, no. I was born in 1991 in October in Kansas. But I don't remember Kansas much because we moved when I was young. I don't remember where all we lived. Mom has told me some, but I don't remember most. And I didn't have context for it when she was telling me, so it kind of fell out of my other ear. But we moved into a house that was kind of shitty and roof was leaky. I only vaguely remember a few things from that time. I remember sometimes we would get up early to take Dad to work, because our parents only had one car, and so Mom would take Dad to work and then come back home. And so we'd get up really early, like 5 or 6 in the morning when it was still dark, and when it was cold we would sit near the radiator, and as like a reward or a payment, I guess, for having to do that, we would always have powdered donuts. Yeah, I remember sometimes we would have to, yeah, there it is, wake up early so Mom could take Dad to work. We always had to go to church on Sundays. I remember a few things that were around in the area, like we had a Good and Crisp chicken. I remember our like Dinosaur Mountain toy set and our Army Mountain toy set. It was the same mountain mold, just different colors with different plastic people. It was great. I loved those toys. Cheap though they were. You know, we were kids. We used our imaginations to make the fun. But eventually we moved from that house into a different house. It was slightly smaller, but had fewer problems. And I had to share a room with my little brother. Our older brother got a room to himself. Mom said she shouldn't have done that. She should have put our little brother alone in a room and my older brother and I together, and yeah, that probably made more sense. But she didn't. She did it the wrong way around, and it wasn't good. We weren't good brothers most of the time. We had moments, and I love my brothers, but you know, we were kids being abused, and we abused each other, physically and verbally. We hit each other quite a lot. My older brother hit me and my little brother. I also hit my little brother. I think I tried to hit my older brother and maybe sometimes succeeded, but you know, he was able to overpower me. I rarely won fights. Punching down was easier, and there were times when I would punch my little brother directly, like in the forehead, in his face, basically, just because he was annoying me. And you know, I didn't fully understand why at the time, and I didn't know what to do about it, and we couldn't just talk about it. In addition to just hitting him like that, I can remember one other instance where my older brother and I had thrown a blanket over his head, and you know, we thought it was just fun to watch him like stumble around because he couldn't see, basically. And it went bad when he tripped or fell or we pushed him. I really don't remember. And he hit his head on a brick fireplace, and ended up having to like go to the ER, I think, and get stitches. And you know, were we sorry? No, we called him names after, you know, he came back with a scar. And for years we would bring it up and we would laugh. And I couldn't see how bad, you know, that was. I couldn't see how wrong that was. We had to be okay with it because it was normalized in our family. But it's not right. It was very wrong, and I'm so sorry. And I wish I could take it back. As much as I try not to blame myself too much for, you know, circumstances I couldn't control, like, I wish I hadn't hit him. And I wish we hadn't pretended it was fucking normal for so long. We normalized a lot of bullying. Like, I'm decent at the game, but I'm always one fuck up away from flying off the edge. But yeah, I had to share a room with my little brother. It wasn't great. Mom taught me to read, which was great. Reading is one of the best skills I have to this day, I think. The Bible didn't make sense to me. And so I didn't plan on accepting Jesus. And I've talked about a lot of this stuff in other videos too, but like, full story
start to end what I'm hoping to get out here. The way that I tell the story of my life is not entirely chronological, but I do want to try to keep it mostly in order here. But I don't remember specifically like what year some of these things happened. All of this stuff I've been talking about so far, being born, moving to the leaky house, moving to a different house, all that stuff happened from like ages 0 to 5 for me. So I was only 5 years old or so when Mom taught me how to read, and I was sharing a room with my little brother, and we were all being forced to go to church every week. And I say forced because they would hit us. They would use force. That's the physical abuse that I talk about a lot, is if we didn't behave, which is just comply with whatever stupid thing they want us to do that day, we could get physically harmed for it by our caregivers. And they wouldn't accept any reasoning for why we shouldn't go to church or why we wanted to stay home instead of going to church. They would make us go. The way Mom and Dad have responded to my accusations is it's like they've lied to themselves about how bad it was, and they've let themselves forget that they were screaming and hitting their children on multiple occasions. And I don't know, maybe I was at exactly the wrong age compared to my brothers. Maybe I did get it the worst. I don't really know. I think they're just in denial. I think they're actually a little worse off than I am. But they don't want to listen. Nobody wants to listen. Difficult things to hear, such as our whole lives we've been abused and shit needs to fucking change. I look over there sometimes to make sure I'm still recording. Where my computer is. Honestly, I thought about having my face overlapping the video, but the problem is that my jacket is a little bit disintegrating, and I'm not entirely sure how to fix that. It's just too similar to the background that I've got, which is just a blanket. I can show you actually. Ta-da! It's my bed sheet. One of them. It's just strung up over the rafter. Oh, and I've added a bubbly caffeinated drink next to my water, so I'm drinking that as well. So I'll try to cut out belches probably. But yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else noteworthy that happened at ages 0 to 5 before I move on too much. We got our Nintendo Entertainment System from, I think, cousin, I think one of our cousins. And I still have it. It's here. And I could still play it. I was playing it yesterday. I love it. It inspired my love of video games. Even the frustrating ones. We had Zelda 2. We did not have Zelda 1. But I probably would have found Zelda 1 frustrating also. I couldn't beat, like, any of our games. For a long time. I think eventually I figured out how to warp to the end of Mario and could sometimes beat that, but only sometimes. For a while I thought I was a very skilled gamer, but I realized I was ignoring more of my failures than I wanted to admit. Basically just pretending that I was more skilled than I was. And like, I'm alright, but I'm not as good as I thought I was. And I try not to put particular expectations on myself anymore, or at least unreasonable ones. Like, I expect I can play through this Mario, get all 120 stars, without too much difficulty, and without any, like, controller breaking kind of frustration, nothing like that. Just because I've practiced this game a lot, and it's not that frustrating once you know what to watch out for. It can be. But it doesn't have to be. But I need the Vanish Cap switch. And Mips? Yes. Ah. Yeah! I usually don't get him that quickly. So, yeah, we got our Nintendo Entertainment System. is where I played games like Zelda 2, Super Pitfall, Uncharted Waters, that was a cool one, Captain Skyhawk, Hogan's Alley, Duck Hunt, golf, basketball, football. We had quite a few games, Karate Kid, and I've still got most of those games here, and some new ones, or ones I didn't have at the time. Pipe Dream should be on its way. I'm excited for that. Whoa. Yeah, I'm not skilled enough to know how to do a kick versus a dive, and sometimes the wrong one happens. Fire! Fire! Ah! Forgot about that fire. But yeah, so I started gaming at a very young age, and I'm grateful for that. Oh! Oh! I was very lucky. I can't say it was skill. But yeah, I still like playing these games, possibly because I'm not that skilled. They're still challenging in ways that I find fun. And I've tried games like Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, and I don't find those fun, though I can say they are challenging. I would say I'm more of a casual gamer, but like, it's a balance, you know? You don't gotta pick casual or hardcore, like, give me the middle. I'm a middle gamer. Filthy centrist, I don't know. Fucking balance is important in everything. You want a little bit of challenge, enough to excite you, but not so much that it overwhelms or frustrates you. Is that so hard? A lot of this game nails it, and some of this game is frustrating, and some of it is baby mode easy. But like a lot of it, especially because you can kind of challenge yourself however you want. Like I take more risks than I need to because I like to. I like to show off a little, or like just play around with it, you know? And sometimes it backfires, and that's all on me if it does. But yeah, I think that getting into gaming from an early age was a good thing. The problem is we didn't know how to process our emotions, and neither did our parents. And so if we started to get mad, they didn't really know how to help us, and the only thing they could really say was keep it down, you know, like don't bother us with it, keep it contained, and it won't be a problem. And so we were like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and it does. But also it taught us to repress our feelings instead of process them. Because especially with a lot of these games, you just try again. But that is the frustration, that is the lost time and the investment that you had in the run that you were playing. To have that ended when you don't want it to is upsetting, and sometimes, you know, we react to that as if it's hurting us almost. And like we might get angry, and I had a bad habit of biting on the controller, and I think some of these might still have my teeth marks. And like, does that help anything? No, that's a bad reaction to have. We should have figured out how to how to help me handle that. But it was kind of half-assed, and like we never stopped playing video games. I don't know whether we should have or not. Or just played less than we did, probably. But for the most part, I think it was a good thing to get that kind of practice in at a young age, and to get me thinking about things in a logical way from a young age, because the video games typically followed rules. And that's why, even as kids, we could tell the difference between a fair death that was our fault for messing up, and an unfair death that was the game breaking its own rules to favor itself over our enjoyment. So yeah, hobbies as a kid included reading and video games. I read a lot of Goosebumps, and I can actually remember sitting outside our house in a tree that was there and reading a Goosebumps book, and some kids, like older kids, rode by on their bikes, and they made fun of me. They told me I couldn't read, that I was just like looking at a book, and I was like, nah, I'm reading it, and you know, whatever kid response I had, and like it made me feel bad. And And I forget if I stayed out there, if I went back inside or what, but they rode away, like they didn't attack me or anything. And like I knew it was bullshit because I was reading. I was understanding the words on the pages, and it just confused me that they would act like that. Like they don't even know. But yeah, I wasn't going to accept Jesus. We heard all the shit like you were born sinners and you can either do the right thing and follow these arbitrary rules, or you can just go to hell. I was like, oh, okay, well, hell sounds a lot easier, and then I can, you know, live my life the way I want instead of following your stupid rules. And they're like, well, no, that's not really an option. You have to get saved. And so they sent me to a camp that it was like a Jesus camp thing. And yeah, they scared us with talks about hell and put a lot of pressure on young children to make life or death decisions at an age before they know what they're agreeing to. And I was still ready to go to hell, and I've definitely talked about this in another video, until they told me that my parents would be up in heaven, like, missing me, and I didn't want to make them feel that loss. And so I went forward and said I'll do whatever it takes to accept Jesus so that I can join my parents in heaven. Like, it was never for me, it was for them. And they've never made a sacrifice like that for me. They only had me as a sacrifice to them for their own fucking benefit. And they were willing to lie to me, to hit me, to manipulate me into being the way they wanted me to be or thought they wanted me to be. And they lie to me. They lie to me to this day that they gave me a choice. They did not. They absolutely gave us no choice. I say us. We had all accepted Jesus, I believe. But I think my older brother was the first one to give it up. And I thought he was mistaken. I thought he was wrong to do that. I thought he was gonna go to hell. But looking back, I wish I'd listened to him more or joined him or hadn't gone deeper into the cult. Because it was so bad for me. And if I had gotten to stay with my friends, well, we'll get to that, because I did remember something else that happened.